So I will call the March 11th Environmental Stewardship Committee meeting to order. Good afternoon and welcome to the March 11th, 2025 meeting of the Mecklenburg County Environmental Stewardship Committee. I am Commissioner Elaine Powell and I serve as the chair. We are committed to the important work of maintaining and enhancing, protecting and preserving our environment so that all residents will thrive. A virtual attendance option is offered as an alternate mode of accessibility to our meeting today. We welcome the public who have been provided a call-in number to access this meeting. For those who are attending virtually, please display your full name on Zoom as we record attendance for the minutes. Additionally, virtual attendees are asked to remain muted and use the chat box to submit comments to be read aloud to the committee. The agenda, meeting minutes, and presentations for today were sent out to those already on the distribution list. If anyone did not receive these and would like electronic copies of any presentation materials provided today, please make your request via email to Erin Stanforth. Her email address is Erin, ERIN.Stanforth, STANFORTH @mecnc.gov. We will begin today's meeting by having each one of us identify ourselves so that the record will reflect who is present and participating in our meeting. I am Mecklenburg County Commissioner Elaine Powell, and I will call upon Commissioner Rodriguez McDowell.
The one and only other commissioner present. Good afternoon. I'm Susan Rodriguez McDowell, and I'm elected by the people of District 6.
Thank you. And hopefully Commissioner Ingram is on her way. For the record, 2 commissioners have acknowledged their presence. Therefore, we will have to wait to get a quorum to approve the minutes. And so now we were going to move on to a presentation, and I'm going to hand it over to you, Erin, to introduce everyone else.
Sure thing. With us online, we have Barbara Worley, Britt Clampett, Demetria Cox-Thomas, Ebenezer Jar-Laputi, Ginny Harper, Greg Klimmer, geez Louise, Aishua Pierce, Jeff Smithberger, Mal Harrington, Mamie Seki Harris, Jacqueline McNeil, Shauna Caldwell, Susan Hall, and Betsy Abraham. My name is Erin Stanforth. I serve as the Sustainability and Resiliency Manager for Mecklenburg County.
I'm Kathleen Reed. I serve as the Sustainability and Resiliency Consultant for Mecklenburg County.
Peter Cook, Deputy Director, Met County Park and Rec.
Jennifer Brooks, Mecklenburg County Asset and Facility Management Project Manager.
Robert Nesbitt, Chief of Staff for Health and Human Services.
Anthony Troutman, Deputy County Manager.
Greg Tanner, Division Director for Services for Adults.
Kajal Patel, Program Manager for Food Security Programs for Seniors.
Good afternoon, Letitia Lodeholt, Deputy Director for Child, Family, and Adult Services.
Andy Fair, Deputy Public Information Director.
And my name's Gordon Miller, and I'm one of the people who elected Susan Rodriguez McDowell in District 6. I'm just a regular old person. I'm a retired person right now. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. And before we continue, I'd like to welcome Commissioner Townsend Ingram. Please introduce yourself.
Good morning or afternoon. I'm sorry I'm late. Yvette Townsend Ingram, Board of County Commissioner at Large.
And before we move forward, if everyone had a chance to review the minutes, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from February 11th.
So moved. Just need a second.
I will entertain.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 And the minutes are approved. And now we can move on with our presentation on Mecklenburg County's food and agriculture initiatives.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell. As I said, my name is Erin Stanforth. I serve as Sustainability and Resiliency Manager. I do want to kind of ground everybody in this presentation. So this is a bulky presentation that's gone through a lot of different iterations. We're representing 5 different initiatives. So how we're going to do this is Kathleen's going to do half of the content. I'm going to do the other half of the content, and then we're going to open up for questions. We do have all of our subject matter experts here, either in the room or virtually online. I just wanted to ground everybody as to what our next steps are. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kathleen.
Pull up my slides as well. All right, we are starting off today's presentation around food and agricultural initiatives with our sustainability and resiliency team housed within the county manager's office. There you go. So starting off with our farmland preservation plan. This plan was endorsed by the Board of County Commissioners in March of 2023. So we are just at 2 years of this plan being part of Mecklenburg County. And the farmland preservation plan goals, it's split up into 4 primary goals. The first is to protect farmland through voluntary programs that incentivize land preservation, conservation, and succession planning. The second of these goals is to promote agricultural workforce development of our next generation farmers. To promote agricultural economic development is that third goal. And finally, to promote farmland preservation, conservation, and equity through innovative public and private partnership programs. The farmland preservation plan came together through a lot of work from Mecklenburg County, as well as the Soil and Water Conservation District. It's a very joint effort between these 2 agencies, and we hope to bring in North Carolina Cooperative Extension as we continue along in the implementation of these 4 goals, as well as all the various strategies that fall within those 4 goals. Strategies, without listing all of those, because it is a lot of goals that we have, the primary strategies include efforts around education, funding, supporting our next generation farmers, and really building strong community partnerships in order to accomplish this work. Within the farmland preservation plan, this is a new initiative that's coming out of the farmland preservation plan through the county manager's office, and it is Edgewater Farm Park. And so just to give a little bit of grounding, Edgewater Farm Park is a 38-acre farm located near the intersection of Beatty's Ford Road and Highway 73 in Huntersville, North Carolina. It sits just about a quarter mile south of the very southern tip of Lake Norman, just to kind of ground you in Mecklenburg County. This site was home to the historic Stillwell Hubbard Farm and is directly across the street from their old country store. Once developed, Edgewater Farm Park will work to support our local farms and farmers and provide space for passive recreation for our local community. So we are very much in the early phases of developing this space. We recently selected a firm to move forward with the master planning process and site development, including the phased implementation of the programming on site. That firm is Nelson Bird Woltz. We are very excited to have a community engagement open house this week. So on Thursday, in just 2 days, to bring out folks in the community to see the space, to give their input on what this space can be as far as a community resource, both from recreation as well as agricultural programming. We have quite a few people coming out, so we are very excited about that event on Thursday. We will have a second engagement open house later this summer as those master plans develop, and there are options for the public to give feedback. And so that will be forthcoming. And then we hope to have our master plan complete by fall of this year, and then begin our phase 1 implementation in early 2026. Another initiative within the farmland preservation plan, specifically falling within that first of the voluntary programs to preserve farmland, is our voluntary agricultural districts ordinance and the program that falls under that. So the voluntary agricultural district ordinance purpose is to promote values and general welfare of Mecklenburg County agriculture by increasing the identity of and pride in our agricultural community and its way of life. This ordinance can also help to decrease likelihood of legal disputes, such as nuisance actions between farm owners and their neighbors. And it also can help increase protection from non-farm development. And you do see that this comes down directly from state statute. So there is that citation of state statute. Grounding the voluntary ag district ordinance in North Carolina. This program has been in place since 1985. Mecklenburg County, once adopted, will be the 92nd county in North Carolina to adopt this ordinance. On this legend, you see 3 different colors. So the first is that light green. This is a standard version of this program. And 55 counties have just that standard version of the ordinance and the program. Those dark green counties are counties that have both a voluntary ag district program as well as an enhanced version. So when farms apply in those counties, they can choose one version or the other to enroll their farm in. And then there are just a handful of counties left in gray, and those are the counties that do not yet have a voluntary ag district program in place. Over 11,000 farms, or just under 11,000 farms, are enrolled in the VAD or EVAD enhanced version across North Carolina, which makes up about 900,000 acres of farmland. So qualifying for the voluntary ag district program, bona fide farms are eligible for participation. So these are farms that are actively in our agricultural community. To be a bona fide farm through the state of North Carolina, they have to prove one of the 4 things that you see on the slide. So their farm sales tax exemption certificate, a copy of their property tax listing that shows they're eligible for the present use value program, a copy of their Schedule F, or a forest management plan. So they are really those who are actively involved in agriculture, and that can be crops, grains, fruits, veggies, agritourism, forestry, and all forms of agriculture as defined by the state of North Carolina. There are 3 ordinance requirements. So the first is an agricultural advisory board, a conservation agreement, and then a notice of proximity. So the Agricultural Advisory Board has to be established as part of this ordinance and really is a very important part of this ordinance. Just like our other advisory boards, they will advise our Board of County Commissioners and sit at the state or at the local level to really speak on behalf of our agricultural community. The Agricultural Advisory Board will be comprised primarily of residents who are actively engaged in agriculture. Members, to the extent possible, will represent all geographical areas within Mecklenburg County, as well as all sectors of agriculture. The conservation agreement is that other requirement of this ordinance. So the overall goal of these conservation agreements is to prohibit non-farm use or development. The agreement is between the landowner and Mecklenburg County. These are 10-year conservation agreements that then automatically renew until the landowner decides to withdraw themselves from the voluntary ag district program. It can include restrictions on non-farm development, removal or destruction of vegetation, or activities detrimental to water or soil conservation. For the standard version of this program, the agreement is not required to be recorded with our Registrar of Deeds. Enhanced voluntary ag district agreements are recorded. The standard version is revocable. Those agreements are revocable with written notice, where the enhanced version of the agreements are irrevocable for 10 years. The third requirement is the notice of proximity to an agricultural district. So our land records have to include some form of notice to alert a person researching a title of a tract or a parcel that that tract falls within 1/2 mile of a farm enrolled in the VAD, the Voluntary Ag District. So this can be through our GIS system, which here is Polaris, signage like you see here from Clay County, or deed notation, as I noted with the enhanced version. There are a lot of benefits of this ordinance for farmers in Mecklenburg, including increased visibility of their farm in the community through those notice of proximity, which is very important, that signage. There is also an option for public hearing requirement for condemnation action. So this helps elevate, let's say if DOT was coming through a farm that was enrolled in this program, that is elevated to a public hearing to our Agricultural Advisory Board to bring both of those parties to the table and have a conversation about that. The Enhanced Voluntary Ag District has all of those benefits, plus that irrevocable 10-year conservation agreement, and they have some additional financial benefits as well. For our goals for this program is that once it's adopted and in place, assuming it is endorsed by the Board of County Commissioners, we hope to have 500 acres enrolled in this program within that first year, so in FY26. All right. So the next, covering park and recreation, moving from farmland to our community gardens. So within Park and Rec, there are 2 part-time staff who help manage 19 community gardens throughout Mecklenburg County. Those gardens are mostly managed by a team of volunteer garden captains, so those who are gardening in those spaces and elect to lead and volunteer to oversee those gardens. County staff can provide mulch, path materials, fencing, and some garden beds, so that hard infrastructure to make sure that those folks in the community can garden. There are other opportunities for agriculture in our recreation center. So the first is learning gardens. There are 23 recreation centers provide outside learning gardens and conduct community programs for all ages. And you can see here a picture of some of those garden beds and the accessibility piece of them. So some of them raised up so they are accessible to those of all ages. Senior citizen programs, so 9 recreation centers partner with DSS, CFAS, Child Family Adult Services to host free senior nutrition programs for county residents 60 or older. This program provides nutrition support and socialization opportunities. And then greenhouses. So Amy James currently has a greenhouse in place. I know programming is ongoing with that and will be developed with that space and cooperative extension. And then Northern Regional Rec Center is another proposed location for a greenhouse. So the partnership will be with Park and Rec staff as well as North Carolina Cooperative Extension to provide additional gardening and education experiences in those spaces. To kind of give a lay of the land of some of these community gardens. So those 19 community gardens are represented by green dots on the Mecklenburg County map. Those learning gardens at the rec centers are in the blue-gray. In red are this 9 senior nutrition sites. And then additionally, as far as agriculture and park and rec, there are a few sites across the county where the county works with local farmers to maintain those sites by haying and collecting the hay from those sites. So we do have a handful of haying sites as well on county properties.
Can you say why that's important?
It's a way that we can make sure that not only those county sites are well maintained and taken care of, but it's also supporting our local farms.
And reducing costs for park and rec maintenance as needed. So I'm going to take over now. We're going to dive into cooperative extension. Cooperative extension is a statewide network of knowledge and partnerships connecting over 700 communities with practical solutions that impact all North Carolinians. And you can see on this map here, there's actually 5, I'm going to say districts within the state. You can see here we have West, let me use this mouse, apologies, West, North Central, South Central, Southeast, and Northeast. Mecklenburg County sits right here in South Central, and the stars indicate urban ag centers within the state of North Carolina. So there are 6 of those. One of them lies here in Mecklenburg County. And so agriculture actually accounts for about 16% of the state's GDP and workforce. Cooperative extension works to innovate and implement better agricultural products and practices. And they also work to address growing public demand around where our food comes from and how it is grown statewide. Extension continues to be committed to connecting communities, and those communities do include rural and urban communities, both by in-person and online, high-tech and high-touch. One of the phrases that's always repeated within extension is extension will always meet people where they are. And okay, so as I mentioned, extension, the Mecklenburg County Center is one of 101 extension centers across the state and one of 6 urban centers. Cooperative extension is intended to, or committed to rather, providing education for all individuals in Mecklenburg County, based on scientific research from North Carolina State University and NCA&T through an integrated team approach in areas that include agricultural and natural resources, Family and Consumer Services, and 4-H Youth Development. Those are kind of the three areas where Cooperative Extension organizes their staff and their initiatives. And you'll see here, so these are some educational topics that the Cooperative Extension staff is committed to infusing into our community, organized by Agricultural and Natural Resources, Family and Consumer Sciences, and 4-H. I will say something I believe we've mentioned to this group, but it bears repeating. Effective July 1 of 2024, Cooperative Extension actually became a part of the sustainability team within the county manager's office. And so while they still do reside at Amy James, in terms of the org chart of Mecklenburg County, they are one of us, which we're really excited about. It's been a fantastic partnership so far. I will say, I believe this was in October of 23, Dr. Barbara Worley, who is the director of the North Carolina Cooperative Extension for Mecklenburg County, came and gave a presentation on the Amy James Urban Agriculture Park. There was a grant that was written to develop a design for that. And Amy James is actually where the Cooperative Extension office is located. The Urban Ag Park is intended to enrich youth, strengthen communities, feed our future, and protect our environment, and improve health via urban ag, as well as local food systems. And if you want more information on that Amy James master plan, you can scan the link that's listed on this site. It'll take you straight to our, I'll let Commissioner Townsend Ingram scan that, located to our Amy James Urban Ag site. It is a master plan, I will say that, in case you're gonna venture to it. And lastly, there is a lot of information available for Cooperative Extension. They are a vast, very deep pool of just resources and knowledge. All the links you see here will actually take you to various, I guess, aspects of Extension. And I do want to say Cooperative Extension is funded by both NC State and NCA&T, which is why here we have listed the North Carolina State Extension Office as a QR code, A&T Extension, and then the third QR code there is actually Cooperative Extension specific to Mecklenburg County. Each Cooperative Extension office in the state is required to develop a report to the people. It varies within each county what that really looks like. If you're interested in the one that's in Mecklenburg County, you can scan that QR code. That'll take you straight to their 2024 report to the people. And this is NC State, obviously not to be confused. That's what the picture is, just to be clear. And so kind of keeping in the same vein of food and food and ag, we're going to talk briefly, excuse me, about Mecklenburg County's food security program, excuse me. So within public health, there are 4 different methodologies that our staff has been utilizing to help combat food insecurity. Those include edible landscapes, healthy corner stores, farmers markets, and food as prescription. And so just to dive into some very brief, a goal specific to edible landscapes includes to provide urban orchards and community gardens in food insecure locations. Just some quick facts. There's been over a 600% increase in urban gardens with fruit trees since 2021, which is pretty amazing. There's roughly 500 raised beds and 700 fruit trees / bushes within the county. This provides 68% of the trees and raised beds in question provide seasonal produce to our crescent communities. That's communities located in the crescent, not the developed crescent communities. And a little less than 90,000 households have access to these gardens. And this is a 100% sustained community partnership via garden ownership. Getting into our healthy corner stores, there's a lot happening on this slide, so please bear with me here. In total, we do have, public health has 20 healthy corner stores and refrigeration within 7 of those corner stores, as well as 4 pantries. And the goal here is to improve access to healthy foods in retail stores and public health priority areas. This coupon redemption rate here you see here, I know it's kind of difficult to discern, but this down here is actually a screenshot of a coupon that public health has developed to gift to our residents. And 100% of those coupons that have been given out have actually been redeemed within Mecklenburg County, which is pretty spectacular. Roughly It's been over $21,000 in fresh fruits and veggies purchased with this coupon. There has been increased store revenue and client attendance. And as I mentioned, there are those 4 pantries actually have refrigeration. 3 of those 4 pantries are located in priority areas. And something I do want to state here is a healthy corner store. That's actually a definition provided by that's a designation rather provided by the North Carolina Healthy Food Retail designation. So that's not something that we necessarily made up in the county. That's something that's administered at the state level. So getting into farmers markets, the goal here is to really expand physical and economic access to farmers markets. So there has been a 70% increase in SNAP double bucks. What that means is an individual comes into a farmers market and has a SNAP card or WIC card, they're able to go to a Mecklenburg County public health, I'm going to say stand table and get say $10. That $10 will double if the particular farmers market where they're located is enrolled in this SNAP double bucks. It's been extremely successful and has really heightened the amount of produce folks are actually purchasing at these farmers markets. Like I mentioned, 2 farmers markets are offering SNAP double bucks, and then 2 additional farmers markets participate in the seniors farmers market nutrition program, and there is transportation provided for our seniors. And there are 15 farmers markets within a 13-minute walk of public transportation in the county, and 7 farmers markets actually located at public health priority areas. Looking at just kind of broadly what the SNAP and incentive spending looks like within farmers markets, you see here the blue is actually dollars spent at farmers market, SNAP dollars, spent at farmers markets. And then the orange is that SNAP matching at farmers markets. I believe that there's one farmers market that does do triple bucks versus double bucks, just to be kind of a little more confusing. In terms of how much has been spent, you'll see that in total over the last 3 fiscal years, we have over $225,000 has been spent on SNAP at farmers markets. And then that matching dollar amount, of course, over those same 3 fiscal years is over $265,000. Additionally, Uptown Market, which is right here, just around the corner, there was 4.4 tons of surplus produce purchased from that farmer's market in 2024, and that over 26,000 pounds of produce was distributed to Nourish Up / Roof Above. That's a good way to capture food waste while also still helping out farmers. Lastly, we wanted to talk about expanding food as medicine through Eat Well. Eat Well is a successful program system where our staff is actually prescribing food as prescription. This has really increased fruit and veggie consumption in food insecure populations substantially. Since May of 2021, there's been over 2 million fruit and vegetable servings attained and served since May of 2021, which is incredible. There's been multiple phases of this program. The first phase was to get food insecure as well as Medicaid clients enrolled. And you see our partners listed here. That happened in FY21 and 22. Through phase 2, those eligible food insecure, uninsured, or on Medicaid clients were enrolled via Atrium Women's Health. And then the current phase that we're in right now, we expanded out to include eligible BIPOC seniors have been enrolled through Novant Healthcare managers, which is happening as we speak. Right around 7,435 individuals that are low income, food insecure, insured or uninsured have been served healthy foods. And you can see that our 3 partners are shown right here. This is 100% funded by the county program. I did want to emphasize that there is not any private funding that's been shared for this particular initiative. And then lastly, we did want to shout out this agricultural support. As we mentioned, there have been purchases of produce that have come from farmers markets and given back into the community. This is similar, but separate from what I mentioned about the Uptown Farmers Market a moment ago. Via Carolina Farm Trust, we've been purchasing roughly 700 pounds of produce a week from via Carolina Farm Trust that have been sourced from North Carolina farms and then served / given away at our food pantries located at BCW and LOB Scarborough. And this is not everyone, but definitely a list of a list of our county and community partners that have really helped public health with these fantastic initiatives. I wanted to put that up there just as a visual before we get into our last section of the presentation. And thank you for kind of marathoning this with us. We do appreciate it. Lastly, we wanted to highlight the Department of Child and Family Adult Services. There is a hot meal program that is initiative through CFAS. In order to participate, you must be 60 years or older and a county resident or the spouse of an eligible participant. You can be under 60 years old as a disabled person living in a location where those congregate programs are conducted. And of course, also under 60 years old relative who is disabled and resides with the program participant and then able to independently participate in lunch service as well as activities. Roughly the budget is $1.1 million for this. The breakdown of that is federal state dollars is about 65% of that, and the county is roughly 35% of that. You can see the all 16 sites across the county that participate in this program listed here. I'm not going to read them out. There's a lot of words. In FY24, there was over 156,000 meals distributed, and on average, there were 1,400 participants served per month in FY24. Keeping in the same senior nutrition services vein, we also want to talk about homebound meals. The requirements are similar, although the folks that are eligible must be homebound due to advanced age or physical / cognitive impairments, excuse me. And they should also be unable to prepare meals and have no sort of reliable support to help with meal prep. You see the budget is a little over 1.2 million, with 63% being funded by the federal and state coffers, and then county at 37%. In FY24, we over 284,000 meals were served, and average weekly participants averaged around 1,100. All again in FY24. Looking at our mobile markets, this is actually similar to those farmers markets, but they're mobile and they're easier to access. Each individual must be 60 years or older, and they must be at risk for food insecurity due to affordability and then accessing a healthy food. The budget is a little over $100,000, 100% funded by the county, and you see the sites where this occurs listed here. There's 20 of them. In FY24, nearly 100,000 pounds of food was distributed, and on average, for FY24, we had 1,487 people participate, which is truly incredible. Now listed here, so this is actually a map of all the different mobile market locations. Those are the orange, red, kind of apple looking icons. And then the yellow is the congregate nutrition sites, which I did not write down a definition for. So I'm gonna look to Greg to give a little more information on that. But you can see there's a lot of overlap between the two initiatives. And so in totality, over 5,000 seniors have received nutrition support in FY24, a total of 440,000 prepared meals distributed. It's incredible. A total of 175,000 pounds of food was mobilized from food banks and farms each month, distributed to seniors facing access and affordability barriers. And you can see here there was some survey results from FY24. 88% stated that they were less hungry throughout the day, and 95% stated they're eating more nutritionally balanced meals. And then survey results specific to the mobile market, 80% stated that they consume more fresh produce, and 54% stated their monthly food expenses were reduced. And with that marathon, we will stop talking and take any questions from you all online or in person. Thank you.
It was a marathon. Take a sip of water.
I've got lots of questions, so who do you want to start with?
I would like to start with you, Commissioner Townsend Ingram.
Thank you so much for the presentation. And Chair Jarrell has appointed me to the ad hoc committee for seniors. So I have a lot of questions surrounding that, and some of them I might have to take offline. But one of the questions that I had going back to the farm preservation plan, are we counting, since we do everything and our budget priorities are looking through a lens of equity, are we counting the number of minority farm owners, specifically Black farm owners that are participating in the VAD and enhanced VAD program?
Yes, with the caveat that, so the VAD and enhanced VAD are going to the board for hopeful endorsement a week from today. So once the program is in place, absolutely, yes,
Oh,
but
okay.
we do.
It's not in place.
It's not in
absolutely
place yet.
Okay.
That should happen in, fingers crossed, the next few weeks.
Yeah, because that was my question. I would like to see that built in so that we can compare and contrast, specifically now that there's been a little bit of commotion nationally, federally with those counts and with the lens of equity. The agriculture in recreation centers, like, did we decide where theirs would be? Because when you pull up and you look at the overlap and the concentration on any of these programs, we know that we want to focus on the crescent, right? But there are still some outliers. Have we done any kind of additional studies besides, knowing the crescent there? How many, for instance, seniors there are in specific districts to know where there's appropriate compensation to fill in those gaps for those senior centers and programs and things that would affect those seniors?
Hi, this is Peter Cook, Met County Park and Rec.
Do you want to come over here?
Sure.
Because this guy is world class. So come on over.
Oh.
Howdy.
So we have at our centers, we have programs if we have participants that would like gardening. So we build garden beds and we have programming, we have cooking classes. So it's really driven by our programming staff in the center. So the majority of our recreation centers do have some type of gardening program. We also work with communities in our parks and the rec centers that want to develop gardens. So we have to have the interest there. So
it's
it can
based
be
on interest more so than need.
interest, and we work with Aaron and others to see if there's a need in community parks like our Hucks Road Park and others where we have communities that want gardening. A lot of our older communities have older tree growth and they can't grow gardens in their homes and neighborhoods. So they'll partner with one of our park or recreation centers and they're free. Our plots are free. As they mentioned in the PowerPoint overview, we have about 20 gardens and about 600 plus plots that are out there. So we need to make a garden go. You need the infrastructure, you need water, fencing, the gardens, mulch, and other things. And we work with others to donate plants, seedling plants that are free, that the communities can use. So
My concern is getting the information out to the group of people that we're actually trying to serve so that we can see what the impact is. Because a lot of times, and I mean, lots of stats, and it was wonderful, it's excellent. But I mean, there is a whole other section that I fear is being left out, not counted or not communicated to because of the focus concentration areas. And I'm not saying that that's, I'm just saying that that needs to be a consideration, that we need to consider that there are other people that we aren't counting, that the numbers, and I want to see like comparisons, like for instance, Aaron, you said that there were a certain number of people, we measure in pounds and number of people served. That's compared to what? How many seniors do we have in a specific district that we think are food insecure? So we were able to feed 5,000 as opposed to how many are we still needing to fill in that gap?
I'm gonna let Mr. Tanner speak to that.
I don't have Commissioner, I don't have a specific answer to do the comparison today, but what we typically do on our end is by working with Park and Rec and Public Health, where we partner with Park and Rec, we have the congregate nutrition sites, and what we try to do in those locations is ensure that the community is aware of those services being offered. I agree with you.
How is it, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but how is it?
I was just going to go there.
Okay.
Right. So what we do is work with the community. Oftentimes we work with faith-based communities or either community leaders from that particular area, Pottstown, Smithfield. We work with Ada Jenkins a lot in North Meck. Again, resources that the community is familiar with and a trusted source that they will listen to and turn out for these services. And we partner with them to help get the message out and to get the turnout to the locations where we stand up services and programs. Where there are brick and mortar locations, but a senior may be, a number of blocks away that can't get to that location for one reason or another, maybe ambulatory reasons, maybe transportation limitations. That's where we have stood up our mobile market program to go into those particular neighborhoods as a mobile food bank or pantry to make it easier for those things to have access to those food resources.
And again, I think that's excellent, especially the mobile. But again, we actually we've designated it a priority for seniors because we expect to have a senior tsunami. So knowing what the impact of of having that in the community, the impact of, well, in 2024, before the program, we were only able to serve this many, but now we serve this many. We know that there are this many food insecure seniors in the county. We were able to get, and you get to certain benchmarks. That's the point I'm trying to get to. So we can see, like, within the plan, a way to count that, a way to regularly keep a tab on that, because that's not something I think that we do a really good job of, is keeping track, following up to make sure that the system is actually working and that there's no breakdown, there's not something broken within the system. And especially during times of crisis, storms and things of that nature, do we have seniors or disabled going hungry because, this is normally a site where I get food, but they're not available because of whatever. So working with, preparedness, disaster preparedness, emergency preparedness, things of that nature. So I would really love to see those numbers and seeing impact. Like, we know that this number of seniors in this area were, I don't know, diabetes, but now we see that, the impact of getting fresh fruits and vegetables for seniors and children, it's impacted in this manner. Those numbers, I think that we should really be tracking, and we really need to see what where the gaps are.
It's a great observation.
The rest we'll take offline.
So, Mr. Tanner, would you like to add anything at this point? Like, we do track a lot.
I'm sorry, what was the last part?
Would you like to add anything? We do track a lot. Like, I know we track everything.
Again, if you're talking about pounds and let's see, let me see, get some data here for you. If you want to know the number of pounds of meals served, I'm trying to see, I didn't have that, sorry.
I think one of the comments, if I may make, is like, when you kind of said, like, what's the impact and we need to track, one of the things we are really, before trying to put a solution in place, we want to know where we need to serve. And so we are working with the GIS team to map where the seniors are, definitely where those high concentration senior locations are. And then the census does not sort of track the income, but it's sort of with the block group. I'm not a GIS expert, but we can sort of look at the income level of the community of that block group. So we know the median income of that community or the location. So we know seniors make most likely make less than. So I think what our focus is really to sort of look into communities in Mecklenburg County, see how many, we know how many seniors would be there, how many may be like making less than 35,000 a
Right.
year. And then, so we might have a base number, and then if we don't have a congregate location close by, then we can take our mobile market there. And the other thing I want to make a sort of a comment is, there's there's food in the food banks, but that's not being mobilized as much. And one of the good things, the cool things about mobile market is we are mobilizing like close to 30,000 pounds of food per month into the communities. So, we are still working with the GIS team to figure out where exactly we should, because we just don't want to go.
Right.
That we really want to sort of make that impact that you're talking about, and how did it. Now, what might be a challenge is, we can ask, are you consuming more vegetables and fruits as a result of this program? Is that reducing your grocery bill, all of that? But it really is hard to measure as a result of consumption of fruits and vegetables.
Impact of health.
I've lost weight, or my blood sugar is in better control, or that type of impact is hard to measure. But definitely our goal is, we know seniors who are food insecure, their diets lack in fruits and vegetables. It's a poor quality diet.
Well, and I totally get that and understand. And that's exactly, you keyed on exactly what I was talking about, knowing how many, an approximation of how many. So we can say, okay, we know that we have this number in this area and we were able to serve this many. But especially with the Eat Well program, there should be able to, there should be some tracking to see, well, since we started prescribing this number of meals, this group has seen an impact or an improvement of some type of health determinant.
What we ask, Commissioner, is we do survey the seniors who are recipients of these fresh fruits and vegetables. We don't ask about health-related outcome measures, but we do ask about having access to healthier fruits and vegetables easier. And over 70% of them have responded to us saying that because of the various programs and services that the county is offering to their communities, they are in a better place, in better state of having access to fresh fruits and vegetables.
Thank you.
And I think there are 107,000 seniors who live in food deserts right now, seniors. That's a statistic I have, but again, out of 107,000 seniors, I think our focus would be, whose income level, what is it? And they really need that access to something.
Exactly, zeroing in on that.
Yeah,
where
zeroing
they
on
live
that.
now. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner, some of this information is found in a report called The State of the Plate.
Okay.
And so I want to make sure that you all receive that. Public Health works with the Food Policy Council, and a lot of that information is there. We also funded the Food Policy Council, and so they should be we should be standing them up this year after they did their research. And that's a group of nonprofits and grassroots organizations that work with our public health team.
Thank you.
And if you're looking at income, we partner with Kalana Nourish Up through the TFAP program, where we deliver 650 TFAP boxes monthly to those seniors who are at a below income of $2,500 or less per month for individuals. And then we also work with Second Harvest for individuals that have an income of $1,600 or less monthly. And we give those individuals, we pass out 100 boxes per month to those individuals as well.
Thank you.
That's as part of our mobile market program in the community as well.
So to imagine $1,600 or less.
So we're in environmental stewardship, and I love it that it's unintentional, but awesome that there's overlap. Like, because there's always overlap, but it's crystal clear here. You can't meet the mandatory goals that we have as a county without discretionary funding. You cannot do it. And so here we are in environmental stewardship talking. We have park and rec here and we have public health, and it's all connected. And next month, we're going to do a major overlap. We're going to show a lot of overlap, but I just wanted to point that out before you start asking your questions, because I think it's an important thing to have. All commissioners need to have that in their minds as all the time, but especially when we're doing budgeting. Commissioner Rodriguez McDowell.
Okay, thank you. Two nuts and boltsy things. Number one, I just love the photography. Thank you. I think this is Aaron and Kathleen, right? You guys took the photos.
The farm photos.
The farm
Yeah.
photos. I love those. And I love that you used them in your presentation. So you have to get that out of the way. Second, page numbers. It's really hard to take notes and write down questions when there's no page numbers. So I really would appreciate if you could include those in the future. Thank you. A quick word about 4-H and the North Carolina Cooperative Extension. I have been just so impressed with the 4-H kids in my district. They've invited me to come out and I've gone and visited them multiple times. And the Park and Rec staff that work with them, it's just like a whole like beloved family thing going on. And it's just really, really cool. So I just want to give a shout out to those Park and Rec staff that are doing that work and the 4-H folks. I think it's really making an impact on the students that I've been interacting with that are part of that program. They really, really love it. So thank you all for who are involved in that. I wanted to ask another thing that was amazing was the 100% coupon redemption rate that you talked about. Wow, 100%? 100%? That's for real? That's amazing.
It is amazing.
How many coupons does it represent? I'm sorry,
That's okay, go ahead.
We actually have Mamie Saki Harris with us online. Mamie, do you want to address that question?
Yes, it does sound.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's $5. Each coupon is worth $5, and so for the 21,245, that would be dividing it by 5 real quick. That's 4,249 coupons that were distributed. We have actually moved this to a digital platform, and so individuals scan a QR code, get the coupons, and then are able to redeem. So we've made the process even more efficient for the clients at these corner stores.
How are those distributed to like seniors and people that don't use the digital formats? How are you doing?
We were initially doing a paper-based coupon. That's what you see on the slide, but we realized that was not very efficient. The digital actually has been a lot easier for the clients to use because the QR code is right there. We train the store owners and they are able to work with the clients with the uptake. But you are right, there is a digital divide. And so for some seniors, it's a little difficult for them to utilize this. Most of the individuals who have used this are less than 65 years old in terms of the fruits and vegetables at the corner stores.
Thank you.
And the number of people that I just going to cut out there for a second, Mamie, has been 4,249 individuals.
And so are the coupons available at the store or do people have to bring them with them?
They are available at the store.
Okay, so if they're going there, they can access the coupons. That's terrific. Thank you. Thank you for that information. And I wanted to ask on the senior nutrition slides that were about the congregate hot meals. Let's see, what number is that?
And while you're finding your question,
Here it is.
when you're answering, when people are answering questions, I ask this all the time, please don't speak in acronyms. Because not everyone knows all the acronyms.
Yeah. Okay, so on the page that is, yeah, that's the right one. Okay. The budget says, 1,145,000, blah, blah, blah. Federal and state is 35% and county is 65%.
No, reverse.
It's reverse, because on the slide, it says 35 and 65. And then on the next slide, on the delivery ones, it's 63 and 37. So I was trying to.
Yeah, so what happened is that we had a mistake on this particular slide, and which we caught after we distributed the materials. And so what we're showing here is the updated slide, and then the printed materials that are here in physical person are also have been updated, but we didn't want to send out the deck twice.
Okay,
'cause
gotcha.
that tends to confuse people.
Okay, gotcha. So my question really is, and now that I see it swapped, federal and state funding at 65%, my question is this at stake? Is this on the chopping block with the federal, I don't know, how do I say it?
Is it related to the USDA cuts?
Yes, all of that, and also the state getting this fever of cutting, do we feel like these funds are on the chopping block?
I have not been directed about that yet, Commissioner. I can't say for sure it would not. Eventually, something may change, but not to my knowledge. Nothing has come to me directly saying that, it's going to be impacted.
Which funds are you using for this?
Home and community block grant.
Home and community block grant.
I would say everything is on the table.
And the table is the chopping block.
Yes.
Okay. This is super serious, that because those block grants, can go away. We're hearing about grants being pulled away by the culture war king at every moment. And so I'm just concerned about that. All right, well, thank you. I also wanted to say how proud I am of what you guys are doing, and I just really appreciate the work. I love that the mobile market is using GIS targeting, to go to the right areas. I think it's super interesting how technology and the human, element of working out these food desert issues, I just appreciate the sort of the dance or the marriage that's going on here. And so thank you for the work that you guys are doing. It's fantastic. That's it for me right now.
Thank you. And I think we have enough time for another round, so I'll take my turn now. I'll just start here. On the first tour of Edgewater Farms, how many people do you have signed up?
As of today,
we're close to 100.
Good. And are you working with Park and Rec on the community input, or is it just, how are you doing that?
I'll take that one. So as Kathleen mentioned, we have been, just going back to our Edgewater slides, as Kathleen mentioned, we have been working with a consultant that we've hired, Nelson Bird Waltz. Hiring that process was extremely open. We worked with Cooperative Extension, Soil Water Conservation District, and Park and Rec on the firm selection. And then we are having Park and Rec actually with us during the engagement sessions that are happening this week in 2 days. Does that answer your question?
Yes, because we purchased this land with Park and Rec money.
Exactly.
And I want to make sure that Park and Rec is involved in the process.
Absolutely.
And also like the marriage of the farmland preservation plan.
Right.
Like all working together on it. But also making sure that community voices are heard and that the Park Commission is involved.
Absolutely.
Because that's when they jump in to listen to community input.
Right.
And so that's why I'm asking the question, because I wanted to make sure that they would be involved.
Absolutely. Yes.
And so as we're talking about the concerns of not knowing what's on the chopping block, it's more important, like it's always been important to have a plan for resilience, to protect natural resources and to protect farmland. And the fact that, I mean, it's nice to have a goal, but the fact that our goal is so tiny, like 500 acres of protected farmland.
So that's specific to the voluntary ag district. I do want to make that really.
Do we have a goal for, we don't have a goal that I see. I just see promote, promote, promote.
So this is our proposed goal for the voluntary agricultural district, which in Aaron's opinion is significant. While it doesn't seem like a huge lift, there are not a ton of contiguous acre parcels that are that size still in Mecklenburg County. So that would require quite a few farms to buy into the program, but that's specific to the VAD program. I want to be really transparent in that. This isn't all farmland across the board.
And so it's not a critique. I'm not or it's not critical. It's just showing like how urgent it is. The fact that we can set a goal that's so small when we're such a huge county. And so it just shows like we really don't have any kind of agricultural resilience in Mecklenburg County. We're working toward it, but it's very concerning when you talk about fresh fruits and vegetables and what potentially could be cut by the USDA. Like, it's huge. And you don't have local resilience, you're more at risk. So it's more urgent than ever that we protect farmland. And while numbers are coming out, people are talking about big numbers. The reality is that North Carolina is losing farmland. The state of North Carolina is losing farmland at the second fastest rate in the nation of the United States. So we're going to become reliant on other countries for food and other states, other countries, but we're losing it second to Texas. But not only are we losing it, we're losing high quality soil. So I learned that at the cooperative extension. I didn't know we were losing some of our highest quality soil in Mecklenburg County, which is scary. So anyone that thinks that land acquisition dollars aren't important, just bring them to me, because the urgency is real, resilience is important, and the threats are upon us. And so I really appreciate the work of this committee and your work as staff and the overlap. Like, this quite often in these meetings, some of my favorite people are here. And so I was thinking about when all these great people are sitting in this room, I was thinking that, like, I'm a natural born caregiver. So my background is healthcare. And so are you guys. Like, you're natural born natural born caregivers. Like, everyone in this room that I know is a caregiver. Community matters. And so when people think that it's, they don't really, when they discount the importance of the mobile food trucks, or they discount the importance of the whole infrastructure of Park and Rec, it's troubling, because we're all community builder caregivers who are like taking care of and helping people who need it. And so I just love the overlap today of what is important to this board. And I love being surrounded by all these good people. How big is May James? Do you know the acreage? How big is that? Dr. Worley might know.
I do. 40 acres is all of the park.
So do you have 40 acres, Dr. Worley?
And good morning or good afternoon. Thank you for having me today. There are 40 acres, and I think Jen Brooks would probably speak to it even better, here on the park property in which the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Mecklenburg County Center has its offices.
Thank you. And when do you plan for this? And maybe you already said it, but it was a marathon. When do you plan for this to open?
So as Aaron mentioned, the Amy James Urban Ag Park is under a master plan, and it's a master plan with assets and facility management and park and rec. Whereas Extension's role was there in the community engagement session, just as it is going to be, my staff will be there this week for the Edgewater engagement sessions to provide our input as it relates to programming that would be related to the park and the infrastructure that does get built here. And so we play, like, I always boil it down, we play the educational piece, the educational role from our 2 land grant universities across the space. So we're fingers crossed, hoping that this will come to fruition soon. I know Greg Clemmer, who seemed to be present online with me as well. He's very instrumental in how this gets implemented with, of course, funding and approval and so forth. And then we will be here to provide the support in these areas that were identified during our engagement sessions.
And I can add a little bit. Greg. Go ahead,
Aaron?
Greg.
Hey, Greg. Is he on here?
Oh, hey, how's it going?
Hello. Tell us what you want to tell us.
Oh, I didn't mean to hit that. No, we are going to be, we're working with, like I said, everybody on this big master plan with Jen. And so again, I don't think there's a timetable completely laid out yet for that, but just take a look at the plan and we'll work with AFM and everybody, but I think we're a couple of years out on that.
As I understand it, just as a bit more context, the funding that paid for the master plan, some of it was accrued from grant dollars. And so to my knowledge, Peter, feel free to correct me, there isn't a funding source dedicated yet for the implementation of this master plan.
This was the initial phase. This was the initial phase to get the planning going, the greenhouse on the site. We have a recreation center there. We've recently taken back over, so we're happy to reopen the recreation center. And nearby, we've had other neighborhood gardens. So it'll be great working with Cooperative Extension on this greenhouse and community initiatives.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg Clemmer. Thank you, Dr. Worley. Okay, and I'm going to go. We have time for another lap. So Commissioner Townsend Ingram, do you have any more questions?
No, I'm starting to get a clearer picture, and I probably need to do some additional digging on some things that you guys said before I, make suggestions of what I want to see. Maybe it's already there, and I just
okay. Well,
because I'm new, I have a bunch of stuff in my head that I need to get on paper and then see and analyze that way.
And if you would like to go on a field trip, I love field trips.
I know you do.
So
That's a great idea.
Yes, I'll take you on a field trip.
Well, we're going to have the Bridgewater on Thursday.
Yes.
Thursday.
I have signed up to go. to that,
Thank you.
Awesome. Commissioner Rodriguez McDowell.
I don't have any more questions, but I was excited to be part of the group because I think you were out of town. I got to be part of the group that chose the developer, and it's Jennifer, right? Jennifer? Yeah, Jennifer was leading that effort, and I'm really excited to see how this is going to turn out also. Is there a presentation sort of part of, are they doing this event on Thursday?
Yeah, so it's a collective. It's actually Cooperative Extension, staff from Park and Rec, the sustainability team, the consultant team, and then AFM. So it's a large group of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I'm not going to be able to make it on Thursday, but
okay.
I'm kind of bummed, but I'll come to the next thing, hopefully. So no, I really appreciate this presentation and connecting the dots between, environmental stewardship and healthy food systems. And I think it's super important. So thank you for bringing those dots together.
And if you just had extra like 5 minutes and you went through this whole presentation to see all of the work that different departments do, like it's stunning how much public health does, how much cooperative extension does, how much Park and Rec does. And it takes everyone to make it happen.
Yeah.
And you guys just don't get enough credit. Like you don't get enough credit, but thank you for for doing the work. And since we have extra time and you guys are so important, I just want to go around the table and ask if, and I can't remember your first name. Letitia, is there anything you'd like to add? Like, we have time, so.
I can't think of anything offhand. I did take a lot of notes so we can follow back up with some of the information that you all had questions about that we didn't have readily for you. So I look forward to doing that. But it was a pleasure being able to sit at this forum and just hear how you all are engaged. And I do appreciate that. Coming from other counties, it's very refreshing to see commissioners be as active as you all are. So I appreciate that.
What do you love the most about your job?
The people. And I'm new to Mecklenburg County. The 25th of this month will be my 1-year anniversary. And I've worked in several different counties in North Carolina and in Virginia. And I will say this is the best county I've ever worked for. And I'm not just saying that because I'm in your presence.
No, you could say that louder.
I
It's
say it to
recorded,
Mr.
right?
You can say it. Do you want a microphone?
Use her in a commercial.
That's so great to hear.
Yeah.
That's why that's why we're here, the people.
I appreciate it. I've worked with several commissioners and never had or seen this much involvement or engagement, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're doing it right,
That's
guys.
cool. That's really cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything you would like to add?
No, not much. I think I've said it. I think one of the things that I did, definitely, our federal state, is on the table. The money actually comes to the Older Americans Act, Department
Act?
of Health and
I'm
Human
sorry.
Services.
Which act was that?
Department of Health and Human
Okay.
Services. So,
It's through the Older Americans Act?
yeah.
Well,
So
that's
it's,
relief.
so it is under Department of Health and Human Services, there is like a department called Administration on Community Living. And under that is the Older Americans Act, which authorizes funds for nutrition, the congregate and home delivered meals in every state. So definitely that, but what I also wanted to add is I've been hearing whispers that the food banks are going to, going to see some cuts or less donations or less food supplies. To me, I think the major thing is not only the funding that maybe we may get funding cuts, but just the whole food supply chain is going to sort of reduce or be limited. And so if food banks are going to see less food coming from USDA or other donations, then we are not able to, take that food in the community. So it's just the whole food supply chain is going to be impacted. So.
Well, tell us how we can help, we don't know what. It's uncertain.
Definitely, I think farmers, we want to strengthen that relationship so we can take the food from the farms and distribute. That definitely, that needs to be strengthened.
It's urgent.
Yeah.
We might have to get creative
It's just urgent.
and think outside the box where that's concerned, because I really do feel like you're right. The cuts are on, we may as well start preparing whether or not it actually comes to fruition, and I think it will. I think that, like Commissioner Powell said, we have to be resilient. We have to prepare for it, plan for it, and to mitigate the loss. Because, we're already questioning whether we're closing the gaps. Well, the gaps are about to get larger. They've specifically said that. We are the targets. So, thank you.
Thank you. So Greg Tanner, do you have anything cheerful to add?
Yeah, I would just like
Cheerful.
I would just like to thank our colleagues over at Public Health and GIS again. Through the collaboration with those two departments, it's helped us identify where the service was needed the most, instead of us saturating one community or one zip code. It allowed us opportunities to look at the GIS map and determine if there's a congregate nutrition site 2 blocks up, then we don't need a mobile market site there. We need to go in another community or a few blocks away to ensure that we're spreading the resources around in an equitable way, so that most individuals have access to healthy food choices. I think that's been a great benefit. And then I want to thank the 3 members of this board, but the entire board, again, for nearly 2 years now, approving us to purchase those 2 mobile vehicles. Because of that, we are able to put more resources into the community. So thank the 3 of you and your entire colleagues as well. Wonderful. Well, 3 total, but we purchased 2 new ones.
He's like, you got 3, man.
We have 3 total, yes.
So Robert,
Yeah, a great conversation. It was last week when we did some of the preparation for this meeting. I thought it was just an excellent opportunity to see staff from Park and Rec, from Health and Human Services across departments, from AFM, of course, from the environmental team to come together and share information and resources. And I think with so much uncertainty right now, it just speaks to the need to really be intentional about sharing the knowledge that we have collectively. It's an incredible group of people to work with. I've always said that about the county. I've worked at the county for more than 12 years now, and it's just such driven, dedicated people across the county doing this work every day. And I think from this conversation, there are a lot of opportunities too that we can, I was looking at some of the heat maps we did for community resource centers. We could do something similar potentially around some of the questions that came up today around senior location and income based on block group data, working with GIS. So I think there are some ways we can kind of try to hone in on some of the questions that came up. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
And let me ask, do you have anything to add, Peter Cook? Yeah, come back. You should just stay up here. That's your seat.
I just wanted to mention to everyone here and folks on the call, we have a great homeowners and others that want or have questions about community gardens, or we have a great Master Gardener program through Cooperative Extension. And they can answer questions if you are having problems with your soil or certain plants have something on them. So those are for the people that maybe have gardens at home. If there are folks out there in communities that may want to start a community garden, they can call our main Park and Recreation number at 980-314-1000. And they can inquire where we would want to know where they would live, what maybe facilities we have around them, what's the interest in the area. We also work with churches and other communities that may want to start a garden. We'll give them advice. So it's all about where we have a community interest and where we have infrastructure and facilities to meet those needs. We're there to assist the community and grow our community garden program. And working with public health and our senior nutrition programs, and we've worked with smaller grants to add community gardens to other parks. So we're always interested in those partnerships. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
And stay there. Stay there. So I have to tell you this. I hope it doesn't embarrass you, but I have to tell. So he means it. I was driving down the road one day and there's Peter Cook in a tuxedo, and he's doing something. And I think his car broke down and it's on Davidson Street. And I roll my window down and I'm like, are you okay? And he's throwing out these granules in his tuxedo. And he says, yeah, I'm okay. He says, I got a call that there were fire ants at this park and I didn't want any kids to get hurt. And I just thought, I mean, I feel like I'm going to cry. I just like, what a great person, but you're just like that all the time. And thank you for that. Like, we're so lucky to have you here.
Well, thank you very much. And all of our Park and Recreation.
Yes.
Every day, 365 days a year, we have folks out there taking care of our parks and the public.
Do you usually wear a tuxedo when you're
Well,
working?
I was in between. I was going to this event and I stopped and took care of that all the way.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't even think to take a picture because I thought his car was broken down, but I was just like, wow. But, you know, my background's healthcare. So I worked in the hospital with people who wanted to, you know, help everyone get better. And that's how I feel when I'm with a lot of the people in this room. Like, you're just committed to helping humanity. And I really appreciate that. Like, every person, I can tell a story about every person here, but you weren't wearing a tuxedo. But thank you to everyone who is just always so helpful. We can't do it without each other. And then I will leave the last word for you, Deputy County Manager.
Sure. First, I want to say thank you, Commissioner Powell, for your leadership. Before you came on the board, environmental stewardship was not a priority.
It wasn't even a committee.
It wasn't a committee. It wasn't a priority. Farmland preservation was not a priority. But you have brought unprecedented leadership, and you will forever leave your mark on this county because of your commitment. And I'm glad to see that it's been a priority over the last several years for the board. Connecting the dots today between farmland, food nutrition, public health, and even workforce development. We didn't talk about that, but there's jobs associated with farming and education as we think about 4-H and the work that we're doing with that team. All of it intersects together. And so I just want to say thank you and the full committee for your leadership.
Thank you. And I don't know if everyone got the pictures, but the 4-H kids sent us pictures of chickens and their names. It was the cutest, these little chicks. I don't know, did you get
I
it?
don't remember. Was it a while back or?
It was not too long ago, but I found them the other day and I started laughing. They named the little chicks and they said, thank you for caring. And I thought,
Oh, yeah. It was
yes.
after the last budget.
It was
meeting.
awesome.
After we included them in the budget.
So does anyone online have a question? All right, you get the last word, Aaron and Kathleen.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. Did I hear a second?
Second.
All right, meeting adjourned. Early.
We got 5 extra minutes.